Alrighty guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at the Spirit and why I put her in the second best place in terms of all killers in Dead by Daylight. Now, there is a common argument between Billy and Spirit, which one is better. I personally, over the thousands of hours I've been playing DBD, I put Spirit above Billy. They are both god tier, phenomenal killers in Dead by Daylight. You know, one can phase and mind game, the other has insane map movement, momentum, and an instant down whenever they wanted a 2.5 second rev. That being said, why do I put the Spirit above the Billy real quick? Okay, cool. So even though the Billy can down people instantly, without really good add-ons, at the average palette, a Billy's gonna have to break it, as opposed to a Spirit with no add-ons at the average palette can outplay a Survivor, especially if he doesn't have Iron Will or if she has Strider. It's not too difficult to do. Now I'm going to tell you a couple of real big important tips and things about Spirit today. Now I really do love the Billy. I put him as the third best killer in DBD. In no way is he a pushover. He's very phenomenally strong, especially with Infectious Fright. However, I feel this Spirit is just a little stronger, and here's why. She can phase, which means she leaves her body in one area and she is moving somewhere else. So survivors can't see where she is, but they see her previous body. Once she finishes her activation, she disappears from here and she comes through like time and space and then hits you, okay? While she's phasing, you will hear a whooshing sound. That being said, if you're within her heartbeat of her body, you will not hear the whooshing sound. So people used to run distressing on her rather than moderate abuse. So some factors to point out. She has 110 movement speed by default, meaning she has a 24-meter heartbeat. So stacking Modern Abuse makes a 24-meter heartbeat, a 16-meter heartbeat, still at 110. So she can walk up behind you and get some pretty crazy hits based on the heartbeat being quieter while she is closer. So it still does excel and speed up. It just does it very, very fast. So it might be hard for people to react when you're versing a killer with Modern Abuse that has a default 16-meter heartbeat, default 24-meter heartbeat, or even Michael Myers at a 16-meter heartbeat, or a Hag at 24. Alright, so she can phase. While activating phase, that takes approximately 2.5 seconds with no add-ons. It'll allow her to leave her body and then move elsewhere, much like a Nurse's Blink, and then she can turn around a corner and teleport and hit you. That action takes 2.5 seconds. She can phase for approximately 4 seconds. She moves at a 176% movement speed. So instead of moving at 110 with no add-ons, by default, she moves at 176% while phasing. So that's very, very fast, right? She can sneak up on you. And she has movement speed add-ons, which can be very devastating. She then has about a 12-second downtime. Now, the thing that makes the Spirit very strong is two things. While she's walking, she does something called passive phasing. What is passive phasing? It means her body will completely disappear, and then it will reappear about 0.8 of a second later. So if she's chasing you, just as you go around the corner and her body disappears, you might think she turned around, but nope, she's still coming. So that light stain on her chest will disappear, and then she'll reappear. It can be very, very intimidating. She has add-ons that change and make that happen more frequently as well and make it last longer. It can be very devastating to verse. She has no window vault animation. So while she walks up to a window, she stands at the window and then she's at the other side of the window. This can be a very good play for a Spirit. So survivors know you don't have a window animation vault. So walk up to the window, stand perfectly flush with the window, activate your phase, and go around the window and hit the survivor. If you twist your camera even the littlest bit, a survivor will know you're not vaulting the window because you are 180 degrees, you are flush with the window as every character while stepping through. Unlike the trapper who makes a rubber sound while he goes through the window, or the clown who makes a grunt, she makes no sound while going through the window, okay? So knowing that she makes no sound and she has no window phase can be very devastating for an unsuspecting survivor. So that's a pretty common or good mind game at the shack, right? So you walk up to the window. I like doing this from the outside of the shack because I guarantee a hit or the pallet 9 out of 10 times. I walk right up, I activate phase, and I go around. If I'm running phase add-ons, then it's a guaranteed hit, but we'll talk about that in a bit. So let's recap for a second. She moves at 110% movement speed, she phases at 176%, she phases for approximately 4 seconds, and she has about a 12-second downtime on her phase, 11 second, 12 seconds with no add-ons. Right, that is generally the basic Spirit kit. Now, A couple of bad errors people make as Spirit is they will phase throughout the entire board, see a survivor at a pallet and go, oh cool, I'm going to wait here for 12 seconds, then I'm going to phase and mind game him. A smart survivor will be like, you just phased from one end to the other, you're on cooldown, and he's going to run, and he's going to outplay you by running away. A bad survivor will wait you'll stand still, he'll make a bad play away from the pallet, you'll walk over and you'll M1 and will punish him. Or he'll try and do something cute like crouch. A common play people make, Spirit makes a sound while phasing and she can't see blood. She can only see scratch marks, and she can see people moving through grass, moving through weeds, moving through bamboo, whatever it is, she can see that, okay? She cannot see aura reading abilities, such as Objective Obsession, Nurse's Calling. However, there is one perk she can see while she's phasing, and that's Spies from the Shadows. Spies from the Shadows is basically when a ability triggers, somebody steps beside a crow, the crow will fly away, and if the killer's within 36 meters, an explosion will happen, and the killer will be able to know where it is. So the killer will be able to know that. That being said, if a crow flies away, and you have good enough experience in the game, you're going to kind of know where the crow is, and you're going to be able to phase over and get him. Biggest tip I recommend to new Spirit players is while you're looking in one direction, activate phase, go the opposite direction. Another important thing to note about the Spirit, while your body is out, or while you're out of your body's still there. So something you can do is if a survivor's looping at you at a really shit pallet, you can walk your body through the pallet, phase all the way around, or back through and down the survivor. If you phase, keep in mind your body is there. Survivor cannot run through your body. If he runs up to your body, he will lose momentum. You come out of phase, you'll be able to M1 him. If he panics and spams spacebar, he will throw the pallet on the wrong side. He needs to hold shift and spacebar, then wait 1 second before throwing a pallet, or he's not going to be able to throw the pallet on the right side unless he's more than 50% through the pallet. He won't be more than 50% through the pallet because you body blocked the pallet with your corpse or your body while you were phasing around. A lot of people don't realize you can do that. So you can do that at the shack as well. Walk through the shack pallet, activate. So if somebody's looping from the outside of the shack, walk through the outside of the shack, activate phase, go all the way around. The longer you channel it, the better it's going to be for you because the longer your body would be there to block. The second you come out, your body will disappear. So like I said, it's one of those advanced techniques that not a lot of people know. So kind of keep that in mind, all right? The husk does have collision. Okay, something else, while you are phasing, you can feel survivors. So you're phasing and moving at 176% movement speed. If Jeff is standing here and you run into Jeff, you will stop and then you'll sidestep like that. So let go of the button. You have to hold M2 to go through your phase. Just let go of it, M1 Jeff. Punish him for it, okay? A big thing is survivors are commonly double back on their scratch marks. So you'll see them running, and if you activate phasing, they'll stop running and they'll walk back on their scratches and they'll sidestep the center. Very common. Just listen, you'll hear them breathing, okay? It's pretty... I mean, like 8 out of 10 people will do that. So... Spirit is very, very strong, but I just mentioned a lot of basic and kind of medium tips for a beginner Spirit player that you should work on. It'll take you a lot of time to master them, but if you do master them, the killer is near unrivaled. What makes her better than the nurse? Now, I still think the nurse is the best killer in the game, unless we're talking about with add-ons. With add-ons, I reckon the Spirit's better than the nurse. Okay, so the nurse's best add-ons have obviously all been changed, but we can still talk about the Spirits. Now, we all love this add-on because we think it's the most balanced add-on in the game, and it's called the Bracelet. Now, what do we love what do we love about the Bracelet? You remember how I told you the Spirit makes a whooshing sound while she's using her ability? Yeah, she doesn't make it anymore. She's completely silent. It's bullshit. It's so strong. It is okay if you're on a map like Liar's Institute. Why? Because the Spirit's running around like fucking Happy Feet making so much noise while she's going throughout the floorboards, and because of that, you're going to be able to react while she's like 6 meters away. It's annoying to verse. This is the strongest add-on in Dead by Daylight. If you're unaware of how Dead by Daylight add-ons work, slightly increase, moderately, considerably, tremendously. This is the only add-on in Dead by Daylight history that gives you 3 positives at moderately with no penalty. Nothing else in the game does that. So that allows you to recover from using your ability quicker. Increases the duration of how long you can use your ability alongside your movement speed. It gives you everything. The only thing it doesn't give you is activation time, so it works really well with the hair brooch or the hair ribbon. Wait, I think I said that right. The brooch or the ribbon. Alright, so if we're going to go right through here, we're going to look at this one too. I can never pronounce this word. and I'm not even going to try to because I know I'm going to butcher it. Basically, when the spirit comes out of phasing, much like the Wraith, you know how the Wraith gets built-in Windstorm where he moves faster and he can do a crazy long lunge? So can the spirit. While she comes out, she gets that massive movement speed, she can release it, and she can go for a really crazy hit. This allows her to get insane movement speed. It lasts for a longer period of time, and her lunge goes even faster. So that can be devastating also. But this is where things come in. These add-ons here. You remember how I told you the spirit can't track blood? Now she can. So if she's running Father's Glasses with Bloodhound, where the blood glows bright pink, you're not getting away. However, while she has this, she cannot... Well, normally you'll see this combo together. She'll still have the long cooldown, but she cannot track scratch marks. This being said, tremendously increase your movement speed. You can no longer track scratches. Doesn't matter, you're tracking blood. You are moving so freaking fast, you'll be going throughout the board at a crazy speed, and you're just going to be able to down people. Realistically, a very good spirit doesn't use scratch marks. They use sound. I'm not saying run Strider. I'm just saying, listen for breathing, listen for somebody shuffling in grass, then let go of your ability. 9 out of 10 times, that's how you're going to catch really good players. Alternatively, if we're going to look at the other best combo, the thing that I hate about Spirit, right, if I'm going to tell you the truth, let's look at somebody like Legion. Legion's really, really weak. Worst killer in the game, as opposed to the second best killer in the game. He hits the target, then if he hits the same target again, he can't move for 4 seconds, and he looks at the ground, and he can't see either. Very, very silly. This killer does not have one bad add-on. Every add-on in the Spirit's kit is decent. Sure, some are better than others, but everything is good. So the Billy has Tuning Guide, Thompson Mix, Primer Bulb, Spark Plugs, Vegetable Oil. Billy has a lot of good stuff too. Doom, Death Engravings, Moonshine. It's got a lot of good stuff. He's also got the Meme Limiter, the Chainsaw File to make it quieter. So he has a couple of silly things too that don't really work. This being said, this combo here is the equivalent of Tuning Guide Primer Bulb or Tuning Guide Thompson Mix, in my opinion, because it's roughly the same tier. Green and yellow rather than green or green-yellow, depending if you're going Primer Bulb. Alright, I personally think this is one of the best combos you can have on the Spirit. So if you're unaware of what both these add-ons do, activation time. Considerably increase horning activation speed, considerably increases activation time. So basically, this is going to allow you remember how I told you it's 2.5 seconds? It's about 1.5 seconds of standing still. You walk up to a shack window, you go do, and you go right around and you hit him straight away. It is so fast, it is devastating, and it is lethal. Now, I've only been standing here talking to you about the Spirit's add-ons in the last, 6 minutes. It shows you how freaking powerful the Spirit really is based off just the add-ons. This here is devastating. Keep in mind, if a survivor is being hook saved while your husk is there, that survivor will have borrowed time on them. Keep that in mind. It's off your husk. If your husk is 30 meters away and you have Modern Abuse and you have a 16 meter heartbeat and you phase in at 1,000 movement speed and then the guy gets saved, he doesn't have BT because your husk wasn't there. It goes off your body, not your actual entity or little ghost moving around. So that's something very important to know in the Spirit if you're going to be running Modern Abuse. That's going to be all for the add-ons, but those two there, lethal weapons, man. So if you're unaware of what that was the white hair ribbon and the bloody hair brooch. Now let's talk about my build, okay? This is my build that I recommend for a rank 1 Spirit who thinks they're pretty freaking decent, okay? I like to think I'm good at her. I don't play her too much because I think she's too strong, if I'm going to tell you the truth, but with this kind of build, it's no wonder why, right? So I have Haunted Ground. When you break my totem, there's going to be 2 lit totems. There's 5 totems in total. 2 of the lit totems are going to be traps. When you destroy one of the lit totems, they both deactivate, and basically every survivor will go down in 1 hit rather than 2 hits for the next 60 seconds. Very, very devastating, very, very powerful. I don't have Ruin on this build. So if for whatever reason Jeff breaks it, I can now down Jeff and go pick him up and go for a Pop Goes the Weasel kick. Keep this in mind. Pop Goes the Weasel is going to give me the stability and the regression I need for not to be able to get Gen Rush throughout the board. Alongside Thrilling Tremor, it's going to give me stability, stall, and information. It's going to allow me to know where multiple targets are, depending on how many Jennies are being worked on. It's going to allow me to know where to go for Pop Goes the Weasel. When I play Spirit, I use my phasing in very small doses. I don't use add-ons either, by the way, unless it's double blood points, or very rarely will I use them, right? The important thing is not to use your phase, alright? If I see somebody at a jungle gym, I'm going to activate phase, I'm going to go for 0.5 seconds, I'm going to release phase, and I'm going to go for the hit. If I get the hit, brilliant. If I don't get the hit, I get the pallet, and then I leave. It's that simple, unless he took bad pathing. Time and efficiency is very important, especially in a build where I don't run Ruin. If I was running Ruin, I could take my time a little bit more, but I like to use my Husk in a little amounts. That way, if I hit him and he dips through a window with life, I can catch up to him with my Husk if I need to. If I need to get straight across the board with Pop Goes the Weasel, I can do that. If somebody just got hook saved and I need to go back because he's in the middle of the open, I can do that. This way, Make Your Choice is very good on it too. So Thrilling Tremor is going to help me out with holding the game and getting my Pop Goes the Weasel kick, followed by Devour Hope. This is where I shine. After I hook 3 survivors, now I can instantly down everyone. So if you haven't already broken Horn of Ground, you're going to break Horn of Ground most likely now. There's a 66% chance you'll break Horn of Ground, 33% you'll break Devour Hope. I find this works very, very well. It is high risk, it is high reward, but at the same time, it requires a lot of skill to be able to use, because you can still get Gen Rush. If you tunnel, if you commit to chases you shouldn't be, you will lose the game. If you're on a map that doesn't favor you, like the Temple, you're moving at 110% movement speed, the map is huge, the Red Forest, you could get Gen Rushed. It can happen. Multiple platform Jennies on the Swamp, you can get Gen Rushed. So it's very, very hard to use. You just need to know when to let go of your chases. I personally think it's the best build you can have on her. A lot of people will be like, no Goose, run Strider to counter the people running Iron Will. You know what else counters them? Being patient, understanding, being able to watch grass, you know, breathing, that kind of thing, just listening to them. You'll be able to find them. Yes, they have Iron Will, but doesn't mean they don't breathe. They don't make a cry of pain. They still make movement if they're running in swamp. You know, being able to tell if somebody's running on wooden floorboards, tiles, pavement, concrete, dirt, snow. What is he running on? He's running on wooden floorboard. He's above me to the left-hand side in front of the locker. He took a deep breath of air. He got into the locker. He took a shallower, deeper breath. He went through a window or got out of the locker. I heard a fall sound. He just fell down the staircase. Knowing these kind of sounds will help you out 1,000,000%, especially if you're not running Ruin on a killer that can catch survivors. Now, this is what I recommend for a really good Spirit player. Let's say you're not that good. Let's say you're an average Spirit player. Alright, I'm going to recommend a little bit of a different build here. Now, you'll notice there's a couple of things that are going to be changing out, but there's one perk that's not going to change out, because that's very important to teach yourself how to get into the habit of using. Okay, so currently we've got Ruin to stall the game. We've got Pop Goes the Weasel for once Ruin is gone for stable regression and pause throughout the game. We got Barbecue and Chili for the information throughout the board, allowing me to know where to go from phasing, because this is the average build where I don't understand it and I don't know. And I have Make Your Choice. Also, you can trade it out for Predator, which will allow the scratch marks to be tighter. I don't recommend it. Or Strider if you want to use sound. Keep in mind with Strider, it is a nurse teachable unlocked at level 30. The thing about Strider is you're kind of going to be hurting yourself if you don't use it too often, because the cries of pain are really loud, meaning when you hear the cry of pain really loud, you need to get an extra meter, an extra 2 meters closer, then release the button. You release it too early, the guy's still 5 meters in front of you. So it's kind of a little bit off-putting for somebody that doesn't use it too often. Make a Choice is going to allow me to come back to the hook, take a trade. Alternatively, I can put on Strider in wake of that, okay? You could go Surge Surveillance if you wanted rather than anything else, but I personally wouldn't recommend that on the Spirit unless you're running some mean add-ons. Alternatively, if you're really, really, really struggling, you can go Discordance, you could go Sloppy Butcher, you could go any of these really perks. If you don't know how to track and you're like, Jay or Goose, I don't know how to track, what could I run instead? I just said it earlier in the video and I'll say it again. You have Spies from the Shadows. Spies from the Shadows is going to give you a sound notification when somebody sets off a crow. Normally you can see crows throughout the entire board unless you're on something like the game, Liars Institute. Keep in mind on the game you can set crows off from being on the floor below, so that can put you off. However, if you're on something like Liars Institute, it can help. If you're phasing, you can see the crow. If you're not phasing, you can see the crow. If you set a crow off and you're if the survivor sets a crow off and you're mid-phasing, they're not going to expect you to come beelining straight towards them. No way. You had already activated phase. They're probably going to hide somewhere, and you're going to be able to phase right in, maybe get a free hit. Very powerful build for an average Spirit. So there's my 2 builds between the two. There are a couple of things you can adjust. Honorable mention, save the best for last. You can M1 a guy, then phase behind him, and M1 him, much like the Demogorgon, M1 to charge to charge your face and then M2 them. There's a lot of different plays you can do. I don't recommend things like Bamboozle because you have no window vault animation to begin with. I don't recommend All Ears because you can't see it while you're phasing. You could go Corrupt Intervention with Horn of Ground if you really wanted to. Now you're looking at, people are going to stack, maybe get rid of Barbecue and Chili for Discordance, and now you've got something that's off meta, that's still a comfortable build. Corrupt Intervention is going to steal 3 faraway Jennies, your 110% movement speed killer. They're going to stack together on Discordance. Horn of Ground breaks, now you can go straight in. You could even get rid of Pop Goes the Weasel for Modern Abuse. That's my mic. That was one of my I like to have fun Michael Myers builds when I'm just having a bit of a giggle. You know, Myers 16 meter heartbeat down to an 8 meter heartbeat with this kind of shit. It's just for a bit of a giggle. So you could run that also. Anyways, guys, that's going to be all for the Spirit. I know I spent a lot of time explaining the add-ons and her ability to move and all that. If you want to learn more about her, by all means, don't hesitate to pop into the live channel and I'll be able to teach you guys as much as I can. But I will see you in the next video, and thanks for watching. Take care.